What is up, folks? Casual Dad here with another quick Warhammer Combat Cards video. I wanted to jump on real fast while I I just read the latest balance patch notes and they're still fresh, so I wanted to go ahead and talk about them while I remembered. This is just loading, so I'll talk over it while we're going there. A couple key things. Some key warlords got buffed and debuffed. Two of the lowest performing warlords got buffed. A couple of the highest performing got debuffed, and then there was a stat change that may or may not make a difference. We'll see. And then a couple bodyguards got key buffs as well. So let's go ahead and talk through that real quick. Right off the bat, Corpse Lord got a switch trait from regen to Medicae. I don't know how much it's going to help. He is the cheapest Necron warlord, but still makes some difference. Medicae will actually help his bodyguards, where regen did not. And everybody knows that the Corpse Lord himself is not going to win you the game. It's whatever bodyguards he has left. So that Medicae will give them an extra little bit to finish out the game. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and go down the list, is of course Illic, Nightspear. Has his range damage attack where if a enemy card takes a certain percentage of its starting health in range damage in a single turn, a lot of keywords there, it kills it outright. That margin used to be 75%, it's been bumped down to 65%, so it's significantly easier to one-shot opposing cards, which makes him an even better counter to Akaran and Greyfax. Which, on that note, let's go ahead and jump to Greyfax herself. Greyfax got a slight points increase. She's now 3 points more expensive. That's not going to invalidate any existing decks with her. Her stat or her trait is still unchanged, but what it means is just the specific combinations of bodyguards people were using to kind of max out your bonus with those bodyguards is going to be slightly tougher math. The more sort of standard decks will be a little bit weaker, and you'll have a little bit more incentive to play around a bit. Next one up is my personal favorite change. Where are you, little buddy? The Parasite. Parasite of Mortrex. Whenever a friendly Tyranid card does a melee attack, it does reduced damage. Now, that reduced damage used to be 40%, so it would deal less than half, and then infest the opposing card. Now it's 60% damage, so for your harder hitting cards, which are the cards that I found do the best with the Parasite, that's significantly better. Instead of doing less than half, you're doing more than half of your damage, which on a card that does 100 damage is definitely noticeable real quick. And then the invested damage is the same. Whenever that card dies, no matter what kills it, if it was infested, it does 40% of its base wounds as damage to adjacent cards. Now I started feeling this immediately. Also, the card itself got a slight points decrease, so the Parasite got hit multiple times and really significantly helped it. It probably was the worst performing warlord out there, so that's not surprising. And then a couple key bodyguard changes. The ones I'm most excited about are the Tyranid ones. This guy right here was switched from Poison to Deathblow, and that's not bad. I don't run this just because of the cost and because mine is just not leveled enough to make it worth it, but at 30 points with Deathblow, that's pretty tempting. The deck that really loves Deathblow is, the Parasite, of course, to do those infestations and finish off injured cards, but Gosar. If you load up your deck with Deathblow, that Gosar's buildup over the game will make these much more frightening bombs. So they'll do more damage out of the gate, and then also if they're killed, they'll do much more damage defensively. And let's see, the other one that jumped out at me right away was this bad boy right here. Changed from Outflank to Furious Charge. Tyranids were a little bit short on Furious Charge, especially, and they had several cards or warlords whose traits really benefit Furious Charge. Again, Gosar and Parasite especially. So I really, really appreciate the change from Outflank. So you already had plenty of Outflank cards. Nobody really used most of them. So this is definitely an incentive to take this guy. Again, especially in the decks I play. What's funny is I like the changes to both of those cards, but I am not using them in either of my decks. But yeah, so those are some key changes. Some other ones, of course, are Space Marines. Both Njal and Tigurius got small debuffs. They just lost a little bit of their psychic damage. I believe Tigurius also lost a little bit of hit points. And Njal's Ready was changed from psychic buff to psychic debuff. So he's more of a defensive psyker now, which also will make it more difficult for him to build up. Like if he does a melee attack, well, no. If the deck does a ranged attack now, it'll be harder to build up those psychic powerhouse hits. So there also were some key changes to Tau, and I'm almost done talking about this, then I'll play a couple quick games. The big ones being this dude here, I believe got a bit of a buff, which is nice. And then the Barracuda, which is the absolute must-take card in the entire faction, got a slight ranged damage debuff, neg 10 to its base stat. Not going to prevent anyone from taking it, but it does make it a little bit less overpowering and makes it somewhat more tempting to take other options. Notably, Longstrike did not get a reduction in his attack, so he's going to continue to make a splash. So, slight tweaks, nothing major to Tau. One thing I almost forgot about that I'm really excited about, one of my favorite cards that is terrible, but I always want to find a way to use him. This guy, Harker. I love Harker. And he's especially good in a Vol deck because he got a good bump in hit points. He got plus 20 base hit points, which is perfect because of that Berserk, and then also with Vol's defensive ability, or of course if you want to run him in a Magus deck to get him that extra HP. That's really, really nice. So I was excited to see that. Of course, check out the actual balance notes yourself. If you look up their patch notes, they should also be usually linked in the Discord and the Facebook, so you can usually find them. But you can also search for Warhammer Combat Cards patch notes, and you should find the developer blog. You can also search for that, and that should go there. So, kept you waiting. Let's do a couple games. I'm going to do one with the Parasite, because I love it, and then one with Gosar. Excuse me, with Illic. And we'll keep this video pretty short, because I got to get back to the day, but I did want to go ahead and talk about it again while it was fresh. One thing about this, that negative 4 points to the cost of the Parasite, my original deck had the Ripper Swarm, the 3-point Endless card, and getting the extra 4 points allowed me to replace that with the Ready. Ooh, that was a huge mistake! Number 1 rule of deployment, always check to make sure that your opponent is not Artemis before playing your big guys first. And as you can see, my opponent is Artemis. So ouch, that was a nasty start. We're going to go ahead and do this interesting thing. With Taunt, it's going to be a little bit longer before I actually hit these cards with Infest, and because they are shielded, I want to hit them with Infest as early as possible. And so you can already see and of course he's got Taunt, so it doesn't help too much, but you can already see what a difference it makes in the base damage you do on that first hit. I'm really feeling that in the games I've been playing with Mortrex. Perfect. Alright, so we got our Infests. Nice, and we got, he's not poisoned, but oh yeah, shields down. And of course, number 1 rule that I have with Parasite is hit really, really hard and hit fast. That's kind of the key thing to make him work well, and that's been the most effective strategy I've got. So I really have struggled to build a deck that doesn't include the Mawloc. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they're really good ones because you can kind of balance it and make all of your cards a little bit more even rather than having it be as top-heavy as the Mawloc is. But he's a really powerful card, and having... I really wish I had my Taunt card out. That's okay. This is the guy. That melee ready is really nice. 7 points instead of the 3 for the Ripper Swarm. Base hit points are much higher, so I don't have to worry as much about someone like Badruk. And then also that melee ready is huge, because as you can see right here, the melee debuff can really be make or break in this deck. It can be really debilitating having your cards not hit as hard as they should, especially on that initial hit. Like if there's a melee debuff on the board and it gets multiple turns to debuff your cards, it really makes a significant difference in what damage output you can actually do. And so having a melee ready, especially a high-ranking one, really helps kind of keep up that consistent damage output, or lets me finish a game with a burst that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. Now, my misplay in the very beginning of this game means I'm probably going to lose it, but we will see here. I'll go ahead and get some stacks of Infest. I still have 3 cards in the deck, but he's probably about ready to wipe me. And we'll see if this Artemis is high enough level to... He is not. Okay, so he doesn't have target acquired, which is a small blessing, but a welcome one. Let's see if I can take that guy down. I don't have to worry about Big Game Hunter, because my Big Game Hunter card is dead. Okay, now let's see if we can do the math on this one. So what I'm going for is a Cascade. I want to kill Belial, and then I also want to kill this guy so that I can do double damage to the guy in the middle, and I want to make sure I kill him. So let's see, he does 51, he does 55. We'll go here and see what we can do. Now, I'm not taking the time to do the actual math. I probably should, but I think that is what I needed to do it. Sweet, okay. And now I'm going to take an absolute pasting on my Parasite, which is a real bummer. Not as bad as it was, that's good. And the reason I wanted to do that is now I actually am in a position to actually kill this guy. and may be able to tank an Artemis hit at least one turn. He's going to shoot me, which is a bummer. The good news is that's not going to kill. Alright, so we're just going to do it. We're going to do the melee hit, hope it's enough, because I've got my Parasite and my Lictor, and then also the overflow damage from Garradon here. He doesn't have enough to kill me. Oh yeah, we got it. Oh, we didn't get it! And that, oh man, ooh, that was close. Oh, but it was, okay. I forgot he wasn't infested already, so that's my bad. Anyway, Parasite, I really love playing the Parasite. It's just a really fun warlord. It's interesting to kind of play around with. A couple things on him, that was the deck that I really like playing. There is a point where if I get him high enough leveled, I would probably swap the Moloch for Deathswit the Blessed. This dude right here. He doesn't have anywhere near the base melee attack. Well, actually, it gets pretty good. He's about on par with my current Moloch. He's got same hit points, half the cost, and also has Death Blow and Enrage. So he's a really good piece to replace with that if I get him high enough level to sub in there. And then I can really play around with points and make a much nastier deck. But the biggest priority is I want the Parasite itself to be higher level, just because mine's only level 5, barely has that rank 2. If I had that rank 3 Furious Charge, no. If I had just a little bit more melee damage, I would have won that game. But, I mean, that's what I get for playing a low-level warlord. Which, speaking of, we're going to switch to Illic. And now again, Illic, the developer notes mentioned, ooh, interesting, let's try it. This is the deck I was running with Illic. It's very, very lean. I probably want to redo this. I probably don't want the Wraithlord in there. I can fix quite a few high-hitting ranged cards in there instead of that guy, but we'll have him in there. The developer notes specifically mentioned that the goal is to make sure that Illic is a little bit more effective, particularly at clearing out lower powered cards, just so he really benefits. So he benefits from his ability quickly, so you're able to clear the way to beefier cards and able to really make an impact. Now, a couple things Illic doesn't like, since he has to do quite a bit of damage fairly quickly, he really does not like enemy decks with shields. And this is a low level. This should be relatively easy. Doesn't like enemy cards with shields. Doesn't like really, really beefy opposing cards that have fear. And in particular, doesn't like small decks. So he's really going to excel. Lots of barrage, lots of precision shot, target acquired are really going to help with running Illic decks. And then also he will do particularly well. What am I looking for? I lost my train of thought. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, target acquired, precision shot, and he really, really likes doing. Ooh. I'm sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. This is what I get for trying to talk while playing. Yes, target acquired, precision shot. Poison's not the worst idea, just to kind of finish stuff out. Likes taunt because he tends to run top heavy decks and you want to make sure you're actually doing the damage. This was a low level avatar deck, so it was a threat, but not too bad. One key thing to remember about Illic is he's an ultimate headhunter, where he has target acquired against enemy warlords. So he will really, really cleanly finish out a game if you can push through and keep his bodyguards alive to get to the end. I'm going to play one more Illic game because I think I only triggered his ability maybe twice, but I just wanted to kind of show that off. And that was such a short game. I'll try it again. We'll go ahead and remove this guy too and throw in some more mainstays. You want bursty cards. So again, barrage, target acquired. Let's see, I think that he's going to be good. I don't quite have enough to do the extra ranged. I don't have barrage on him. Actually, with that in mind. No, he's still really good. I also saw an opposing player use this guy earlier today. He's a really good piece to include here. We're looking at 15. What do we got at 15? Yeah, a little fear in there. Perfect. And those two will probably make much more difference than the Wraithlord did, but the Wraithlord was in there just for durability. So, whatever cards you have leveled, just run your favorite ranged soup combination of cards with Illic, and he's going to really make an impact very quickly. So last game, then I'll wrap up. Appreciate you sticking with me if you have. Another thing to keep in mind here is your initiative. Illic is going to be really bursty, so he's really going to benefit from attacking first. So more flyers, more jet bikes, your really, really hard-hitting cards quickly will really benefit you in this deck. Oh, really? That was a good save, dude, because that, but I don't think it's going to matter. That's just going to sort of, yeah, bye. Okay, so that was a very effective demonstration of how powerful that ability is just outright taking out a taunt card before I even had my turn. Because taunt is really good at staying on the board with just a little bit of hit points left, so your kill cards like Skulltaker and Illic are going to be particularly powerful against clearing those. That also is, I think, a lower, yeah. So these are somewhat lower level cards. It's so early in the season, most games you're going to play are going to be against lower leveled cards. So this isn't going to be the best demonstration, but still, give it a try. Extremely powerful and fun to play. And another bonus too, if you're trying to, wow, yeah, you can definitely feel the threshold where that triggers is much lower. If you're trying to level up early in the season, if you have really aggressive, fast-playing warlords like Illic, that'll help you progress much more quickly. So this is great. 2 games in the time it usually takes to do 1. I should probably squeeze in a third in a reasonable time, and that's going to take him out. Yeah. Kind of a design note here. Both the Parasite and Illic were buffed. Couple reasons behind that, and just kind of speculating on my part. Whenever a developer of a game like this is setting up balance notes, one of the things they'll do is they'll actually leave more powerful decks in play and not maybe nerf the most powerful performers, because the theory is you put in other counters to those warlords and beef them up, and they will help kind of settle the meta by itself. That's kind of that balancing act. So in doing this, it's kind of a quiet acknowledgement that both the Parasite and Illic are designed to be counters to some of the major warlords in the game. Obviously, Akaran does not want to face Illic because of that auto kill. Also, Akaran doesn't like facing the Parasite because the overflow damage will kill injured cards and do a lot of damage real quick. So yeah, whenever this comes up, take a minute to think about what this is designed to counter, and then play around that. Appreciate the time, have a good one, and until next time.